What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode. This is the Just Figuring It Out podcast, and we have a very special episode because we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Pressure Cooker King himself, Robbie Jester. What's going on,
Yeah,
man?
I got a tattoo, so it's got to be true,
What's
right?
going on, man? You're the guy, man.
Yep.
What's going on?
It's good to be here in the legendary Atlas Gym.
Yes, bro.
Um, I supported during COVID, but I've never been here, so it's nice to walk through the
Oh,
doors.
really? First time here?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow,
Yep,
wow, wow. And then,
yep.
and then you're going to get a workout in after this, right?
Sure
What are
am.
you hitting?
Got the pre-workout right there.
That's what I like.
So,
I like it.
so I cut myself earlier in the week, so I've kind of been like taking it light. I'm just gonna do full body,
Okay.
do a little bit of everything. Yeah,
Okay.
It is.
yeah. I couldn't grip the weights earlier.
All right, you got to get a leg day in with us. We do this every Sunday.
I,
So
I
we're off the pre-workout a little bit, so don't
listen.
mind us.
I offered this man a 6 a.m. workout. He's like, I'm just not that guy.
You gotta
He was like,
God.
I'm not that guy.
By the way, do we curse on this? We allowed to?
Yeah.
Talk your talk, yeah.
I'm not that fucking guy.
Talk your talk, man. Talk
So,
your talk. Cool, cool.
yeah,
Well, it's a pleasure having you, man.
yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Robbie, we obviously know who you are and what you do, but a lot of viewers and listeners don't.
Mhm.
Can you give us a little rundown of what you do?
Yeah, so I am a chef, restaurateur, entrepreneur. I grew up as a restaurant brat, so I've been in the business, around the business, through the business my entire life. My parents had a sports bar growing up, and I always kind of tell the story. My first job was in the sports bar. I would go in with my grandfather in the summer. I was like 8 years old,
Mhm.
and I would clean the floors. And this is when you could still smoke in bars. So I would clean the floors and the bathrooms and stuff like that, and take the trash out. And I like the trash can was like over my head, and I remember just specifically like pushing trash bags over my head, and like stale beer and like cigarettes hitting me in the face as I'm like pushing it in there. But like my grandfather paid me with roll of quarters. And I loved the crane machine in the bar. So I would like, whatever, like little trinkets or whatever you win with the crane machine. So I'd put the whole $10 back in the crane machine. And my grandfather was a genius businessman. He got me 2 whole fucking summers off the same roll of quarters.
That's what's up.
'Cause as soon as I would get done, he would go, "Hey, go out in the car." He would open it up, pull the quarters out, rewrap them, and that would be my payment.
That's what's up.
So,
That's what's up. Starting you early.
yeah, oh yeah.
So, was there ever a time growing up where in the industry you were like, "Oh my God, this is annoying. Like, I would rather be doing something else." Like, of course, I'm sure, but like, have you ever felt that?
Bunch of times.
Yeah.
I would say less recently,
Like,
but
was it more of a demand, like Robbie, get in here, or was it more like, "Hey, help
oh,
us out"?
so the opposite for I started working like in the kitchen
Mm.
at 12 and started working on the line at 14,
Oh wow.
and then started running the line at 15. So it was like me and my like 15, 16-year-old friends
Mm.
were running the line. It was a little Eastern Shore seafood restaurant called the Harbor House.
Mm.
And we were making like filet mignon, lobsters, crab cakes, stuff like that. I didn't know that shit was expensive. I just knew that like it was like a math problem to me. I just knew like, okay, you're gonna put this and it together.
Sure.
You're gonna put it in the oven
Sure.
for 6 minutes.
Yeah.
This cooks faster on the top shelf. We'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but we would do like hundreds of covers, just like me and like 3 of my buddies. So um I like fell in love with it,
Mm.
and my dad had been a chef his whole life and kind of had seen like the shittier parts
Mm.
of what our business used to be like and
Mm.
can be like if you let it.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like pushing me like get good grades, go do something else, go be a doctor, lawyer, what like something else.
Mm-hmm.
So the push for me was always get out, get out, get out, get out, get out.
Oh, okay.
I need you because you're good, but like
Right, but
then
eventually,
get out.
eventually, go find your own path.
Oh,
Okay,
100%.
awesome.
So
Awesome.
so culinary school, that whole pathway was not an option.
Okay.
And I had very good grades, and I had some scholarship money,
Nice.
not full, but like almost full, to go to Michigan State for medical technology. And about a week before I was supposed to leave, I walked into my parents' bedroom and was like, "Hey guys, like I'm not doing it. I can't do it."
Word.
And my dad was like, uh, "Okay," and I could just see it just boiling, and he was like, "What a waste of your fucking life."
He said that.
Right in my face.
How'd you feel?
Awful.
I'm
Awful.
We felt it.
And
gonna cook you a meal,
awful.
Dad, after that.
Awful. Maybe he's right, but I don't think he is. Like I specifically
It's
remember
discouraging.
like thinking that. Like that's awful that you would say that to me, but we kind of had like a challenging relationship the whole
Sure.
time I worked there.
Sure.
And yeah, so he was like, and then immediately after that was like, well, you're not gonna lay around my fucking house. You got to do something. So I had saved up enough money and had an interest in massage school, so I went and got a certificate in massage and body work
Nice.
because I could like pay for that out of pocket,
Sure.
and that gave me enough time to apply for culinary school and then leave and go to culinary school.
Nice. Right.
So do you feel like your dad being so tough on you made you who you are today?
150%.
Yeah.
150 in ways I haven't even discovered yet. But yes, so he made me fast. He made me efficient. He made me, um, in some ways, deeply insecure about certain things that I do, to the point where I question a lot of like things that I'm good at. Not like like, but I'll question them a lot. And but also gave me the conviction that if someone tells you you're not good enough at something, to just like, well, who the fuck are you? Like,
Right.
so he used to say to me like things like I would like make a mistake, like we were like making pastries or something like that. Well, chef, or well, son, you're never gonna be a pastry chef.
Oh,
And then,
shoot.
and then from there, I would just be like, oh well, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna.
Right.
Not only am I going to be good at it, but I'm going to be better than you,
Sure.
and better than most. So I consider myself. I'm not a pastry chef, but I do consider myself very skilled
Yeah.
in the realm of pastry versus another savory chef who's like, all I make is creme brulee. Fuck off.
Right. You can see where it manifests is that when you see yourself on TV, you have that demeanor about you that's like it's all or nothing. And clearly you see the ending result of that as you're finishing it up, man. You got it, yeah.
And you know, I just filmed some more TV that I could only like say a few things about, but
Sure.
because it won't air for like another 8 months. But
Sure.
it's funny because you know there's a dessert component to that show, and they're all the first thing all the chefs are sitting around going, "Do you do pastry? Do you do pastry?"
They're like, we're afraid.
And they're all like, "No, no." All I like one guy's like, "I only know how to do two things."
Yeah.
And then they come to me and they're like, "Do you do pastry?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, we're afraid of that guy.
and they were
We're
like,
afraid of that guy.
like it was like we got to get him out before that happened. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So it was it's funny, but like I also think that that's important. Like when you have a trade like this or any sort of trade, but like to be well rounded, specialize in some things that really like drive passion for you that you enjoy. But you have to like understand the other aspects.
Absolutely.
And man, I lose a lot of respect for a chef that goes, nope, I don't do
that.
pastry. I don't do the sweets. I don't do the breads. I'm like, well, then you're to me, you're
Because you have to
not
ask
a
yourself,
chef.
are you in love with that craft? Because that craft has various avenues. And like you said, if you're really in love with it, even if I'm not good at certain things or even really dabbling in it as much, I want to at least get familiar with this realm or this this direction of it. So I agree.
And I think too that like it's important to if you choose something as your craft, your career, your passion, that you become an expert in that. And I think if you shut yourself off to certain parts of that, then you can't become an expert, and you also can't communicate effectively about it. So when you're in a room with real ones, they pick you out immediately. And you know, that's kind of like when I've done these competition shows and the chefs are like, "Oh, I don't do that. I don't do that." I'm like, "Well, like now I know where to take you out at the knees."
Absolutely.
You know, like
Absolutely.
and I'm unafraid.
Yeah.
You know, and that's super powerful.
Peace.
And I love the competition shows. I love the opportunity to stretch my skills and everything like that. And it really has become like a thing that I do versus something that happened to me.
Absolutely.
So now it's like I coach high school kids that compete. In Delaware, we have I don't know if you have it in New Jersey, but it's called the Pro Start program. And it's a specific culinary arts training program. And they basically, it's a curriculum. It's what they're taught through the schools in the VOTEC schools, but then it's also a competition that they have once a year. They compete at the state level. They win at the state level. They win some scholarships, some notoriety and stuff. But then they go to the nationals where they can win a free ride to culinary school if they want. Um, so 3 years. So I've been head judge for that competition for like the last 4 or 5 years, and then I was just a judge previous to that. I decided to hang up my judging hat and coach a team this year, and now I'm like fired the fuck up now. Like it's I think it's neat for them because I do the savory side,
Mhm.
but then they also have a pastry. We have a pastry chef that we're partnering with,
Mhm.
and he has been on like 4 shows on the pastry side of things.
Mhm.
So his name is Chef Dana, and he was the first winner of America's Next Great Baker.
Okay.
Like original with Bud, I think it was Buddy Velasco or whatever
Okay.
was the host. I think
Yeah.
Dana, if I got it wrong, sorry, yeah. So they have both of us, and both of us not only come with like the culinary expertise, but also this like, look, if you're in competition and this is fucked up,
Mhm.
like you need to understand how to fix it
Mhm.
and get to a point that's acceptable on the plate.
Sure.
And it's going through this coaching process. I've realized that now the competition thing is something that I do.
Nice. Nice. Nice.
Myself, even like the most recent competition that I did, like I was kind of like coaching the other chefs, like because I
Yes.
wanted the TV to be good, right?
Yes.
Like I don't
You can
want you
see
to
that.
look bad. I don't want you to go home, but like I'm,
You can see that. You can see
yeah,
where you knew where to almost be laid back. You knew
mhm,
where you played various roles. There were certain points where you were just like, "Where's Robbie at?" He's just like chilling in the back, just like posted up.
yep,
And then there was somewhere he was like locking. You're like, "Yeah, he's the guy on the episode right now. It's all you. It's your time." Yeah, you can see that. So you
yeah,
play various roles, and you can see that though. But you can see coming up how that played a part in your life to get you to where you're at now. You can see that.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
clearly displayed
and you
that.
know, like so my relationship with my dad was a challenging one,
Mm,
which I think that for a lot of men, their relationship, if they have a both if they have a good father and if they
sure,
have
sure,
someone who's being a dad is not their expertise.
sure.
I think it's challenging in two different ways, but
100%.
for me, coming up with that sort of like harshness, it taught me a lot about how I didn't want to lead.
Mm,
So I didn't really have that mentor like brought me along. It was always like extraction. Like I see that you're good at this. I'm gonna squeeze your head,
wow,
ask questions, and be like,
wow.
because you're not gonna give it to me.
Sure.
So I'm gonna come to you and I'm gonna pull it out of you.
That's deep.
So I was like the annoying, like, oh, I saw you did that. Why the fuck did you do
So
that?
you learned to
Asking
like almost, yeah,
questions.
you
Yep.
learned to put yourself out there. I got you. I respect that.
How many people go into any situation, any expertise,
Mhm.
any like career field, and all they say is, well, they didn't teach me, they didn't move me
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And like I wasn't willing to use that as an
Mhm.
excuse
Right.
to not get better, to not be better, to not
Sure,
do better.
sure.
So I was fucking annoying.
I can relate to that. That's what's up.
Asking anyone questions.
That's a
Like,
dope quality.
every time.
It's
Yeah.
a dope quality.
What was the point that you remember? I don't care what you do, play sports, I don't care what you do in your life. You say something's gonna be your craft.
Mhm.
You're gonna have this moment where you're at this wall. You're doing everything you physically think you can do, but it seems like you've hit a wall. Either I'm gonna go around this wall, I'm gonna go through this wall, I'm gonna stop, or I'm gonna go. What is like a moment you remember for you being a chef in that journey?
Yeah, so I think my entire life, and I think this is true for most people, although they try to pick one moment that
Mhm.
like is their pivotal moment because we're told what's your moment. But I think it's been a series of those moments for me. So the first one was my father looking at me and telling me that it was a waste of my fucking life,
Okay.
uh, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna prove to you that it's not.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I'm gonna do that,
Mhm.
but it was like I'm gonna prove to you that it's not.
Mhm.
Like, and then, but I had like my even after that, like when my dad got over me going to culinary school and stuff like that, like there was a voice of him when I started to achieve that I think partially was trying to shield me from potential upset,
Sure.
but also slightly jealous and uncomfortable with the achievement.
Wow.
Um,
It's deep.
I can see that now. Didn't feel like that in
Sure,
the
sure.
moment,
It's
but
deep.
so throughout my career, he would kind of say things like, "Oh, if you're gonna be the boss, you can't have friends. Like,
Mm.
oh, like this is hard and it's lonely and you're always gonna be alone. Or like financially, it's super hard. People don't make it." And I'm like,
It's almost like the kind of the discouraging game. Like
"Sure,
it's like building you up, but also leaving some layers of discouragement of like, right?
yeah,
Cool. And it leaves you in a very gray spot, I feel like, because I can relate to that with my own circumstance with my father. It leaves you in a gray area. Kind
yeah,
of a lot of the times you're like, wow, that was a compliment. You gave me some informative information, but at the same time, there's a little bit of discouragement, a
yeah."
little bit of that, you know? You're like,
Well,
okay.
you're so Tony Robbins calls it a belief system
Mhm.
or people's BS.
Yes.
And now you're living in somebody else's limiting BS.
Very true. Very
And so that was a huge moment for me where I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my head down and I'm gonna figure it out.
Mhm.
Um, it's funny because my relationship with my dad has been like that like our entire lives. So like I played pool
Yeah.
on a very high level. His
Nice.
father played pool growing up. They had a bar. I was just in the bar. It was my favorite place.
Yeah.
I didn't know my friends were drunks. I just knew they were there every day.
Mhm.
Like
They were
so,
consistent.
they were consistent. Yep. At 4:30 every day they were there. Um, Drinking that yellow stuff. I don't know what that is. But so he would play pool, and I would hear all these stories about how good he was.
Mm,
Well, then he would play me, and he would embarrass me. Like he
mm,
would, he would beat the shit out of me on the pool
mhm,
table.
mhm.
And then I started to get good, and then I got to the point where I could beat him, and then I got to the point where he couldn't beat me, and he quit. Like the
Gotcha.
moment that he knew that he
Gotcha.
couldn't, like 9 out of 10 games he was going to lose,
Mhm.
he quit playing. So we had like a series of that throughout our career. Um, there was another point. I think that um, the devil is the strongest
Mhm.
right before your revelation.
Very true.
And I've had that moment a couple times in my life. So I've had moments where I've wanted to leave
Mhm.
the business and thought about going. And um, there was another point where I took a job. I was kind of stepping out of the kitchen. I was a little burnout. I'd reached some success, but didn't really. Um, we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I felt like there was a veil to like my level of dreaming. Like there was like a ceiling,
Mhm.
and like I couldn't see past a certain like level.
Sure.
And only lucky people and rich people got past a certain point.
Sure.
Like, and I believed that because I had this voice in my ear saying that stuff. So I had like been executive chef. I had catered some high profile catering events. I did then Vice President Biden's daughter's wedding, cook for the King and Queen of Sweden. Like, hadn't been on any TV yet, but I had done some high profile stuff as a chef.
Yeah.
And I then was like kind of burnt out because I was like, okay, like I've done these things, I've achieved these things in this business, but I'm not making the money that I want or think I should be making, and I'm not receiving the appreciation, and I'm just getting more like, or the trust.
Sure.
To me, the trust is a big thing, not like trusting me to like lock and unlock your doors and be around money, but like trusting me with your vision
Mhm.
and letting me be, to quote Hamilton, in the room where it happens.
Mhm.
Like I always just wanted to be in the room where it happens
Sure. Sure.
and be part of the decision making process. Even when we don't go with my decision, I want to feel like I had impact in the direction.
Gotcha.
And so I was with a company. I was like, look, like if we're not gonna move forward or we're not gonna, we're not gonna take me to like next level, I gotta go.
Mhm.
So I stepped out of the kitchen. I took a general manager role in a restaurant, and I knew that
Okay.
I knew it was a fixer up.
Okay.
What I didn't know was how bad it was.
Okay.
So I went in with, hey, this is a little fucked up.
Mhm.
And then I got into,
This is really
holy
good.
shit,
Yeah.
this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And it was like when my second pay period working there, my paycheck didn't clear. I was like, holy shit. But I'm not
Yeah.
the type of person to like tiptoe into something.
Mhm.
So like I dove in and people followed me. So like when I went from the one place to the other place, like I had like 3 cooks follow me, not because I was like, hey, come with me, but they just wanted to come with me.
Mhm.
Here I am in this shitty situation
Mhm.
with people that I'm leading,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden I gotta look at my guy
Yeah.
and say, yo man, can you wait till Tuesday to cash your paycheck? Because you gotta wait for the deposits to come out
Wow.
for the weekend.
Wow.
And it was a nightmare.
Wow.
And I put on, this was like the start of like true weight gain in my life. I put on like 60 pounds in like 7 months.
It's stress. It's not even the food. I'm sure.
was like-
I'm sure it's stress. Like that level of stress you're living under, man. Yeah.
I went from my high profile chef job, like making good money and taking my girlfriend to Philly for dinner and didn't really care what shit cost, and to like, babe, can I have $20 for gas?
Yeah.
And, because I couldn't cash my own paychecks. And I was like, this is what I started applying. I was like, I'm grasping at straws. So I started applying for TV.
Sure.
And I always wanted to be on Top Chef. Like Top Chef is like the holy grail for me.
Sure. Sure.
So still reaching for that one.
Yeah.
But started applying for TV. I'm like anything.
Mhm.
Like
Desperation.
if that's-
Man is desperate. Yeah.
if I
Put
can
yourself out there.
go on this show and win 10 grand or win 15 grand or whatever, like that's enough to pay the rent for a couple of months and get the bill collectors off my back and stuff like that. And right as I was like, I had reached out and accepted a job somewhere else
Mm.
for about a third less than what I was supposed to be making,
Okay.
even though I wasn't clearing every paycheck.
Sure.
Just so I would have a steady income and then I could
Right.
figure out my life from there.
Right.
And this company came in and said, hey, we're gonna, like, the company with resources
Mm-hmm.
and funding, hey, we're gonna buy this restaurant. We want to buy it for two reasons: one, because of the location, and two, because you're in it. And if you're not in it, we're not gonna buy it. And I'm like, if you tell me you're gonna make things right with my team and the vendors, and we're gonna make a go of it, we can make it go of it.
So you started seeing light at the end of the tunnel from there?
Yeah, so it was like,
Wow.
but I that was one of those moments where I
Yeah.
was going somewhere else. I was like head in my hand, like
Like you
kicking the can down the
Yeah.
road.
Like you said, the devil before the revelation.
Yep. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go take this job so I have a steady income. Then I'm gonna figure out something the fuck else to do.
Sure.
Because obviously this isn't working out for me. And they came in and they were like, hey, we're gonna do this thing. And then I went on to rebrand and reopen that restaurant to much success. Then I went on TV. I did Guys Grocery Games. And then they invited me back for Guys Grocery Games. Then they invited me for Beat Bobby Flay. So then we opened a barbecue restaurant, best new restaurant, best barbecue restaurant in Delaware. I won Best Chef three years in a row for the Delaware Today.
It's
Best-
catching those
best-
W's, man. Catching all these
Yeah,
W's.
so-
I'm loving it.
So, but it was like one of those things where, like, so I'd been general manager of that restaurant when they bought it, and they were like, "Why are you not in the kitchen?" I was like, "Well, we have a chef, and like that wasn't the role I was hired for." And to be honest with you, I'm a little burned out. And they were like, and then they kind of like smiled at me, and they were like, "You still know how to do it?" And I was like,
You're telling me to go back in the kitchen?
I'm like, all right, like, and I hadn't even thought creatively about a menu or anything like that.
Sure.
And there goes like the veil of like you have to rip away like these layers of other people's beliefs that have been imposed on you. And I like from a creative level at that point, I'd only been able to be creative through someone else's lens of what it should be.
Absolutely.
So I had worked for the previous boss, like learned a ton from him. Great mentor, and since we've crossed paths again and really helped me out when I needed it. And but I only ever got to develop food or be creative through his lens. There were things that he liked and he didn't like, and you were not allowed to place anything on the menu that was outside of that realm.
Sure.
Whether the guests like it, everybody else like he didn't like cucumbers. Like, so there wasn't a fucking thing on the menu with cucumbers on it. Like, whether it was tuna or whatever. And it's just always through his lens.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I was given this, what do you want this space to be? And I felt like, and I've described it since as like an oops baby. Like, it's not the baby that I ever planned on happening. But I made the best out of being the father to that baby as it came through. And what came through in that experience was me rediscovering like a creative formula for me relearning how to lead a group, but also learning how to train, because I knew up to that point it was like all on me. So I was either there and it was great, or I wasn't and it sucked. So I knew that I couldn't do that in this place. So I needed to transcend that and become a leader that has multiple spaces. So I would train the leaders to be in a place. But what happened in that building the years after that was really, really special. And then my sous chefs in that building went on to be the chef and pit boss of the barbecue restaurant, to be the chef and manager of the breakfast restaurant that we opened together. So I opened 2 more restaurants with that restaurant group. And those guys that led that kitchen then got their own kitchens, which was a pledge that I made to them.
Be able to see them grow. Yeah.
Pledge I made to them before I stepped out of the first one to go build the second one was, if you guys put in enough work, you will get your own.
Wow.
And they got them.
That's good, man. Man of your word. Got to stay a man of your word.
Yeah, and it's just that I think like if I had a superpower, which I don't believe I do, but I think it's the ability to like look in the mirror and truly self-reflect on and I knew what my shortcomings were, and I knew how to do them, and I took a hard look at what I didn't like in my leaders and tried to be the opposite of that.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's funny because the restaurant I'm talking about just closed its doors.
Okay.
I haven't been involved in years now, but the outpouring of even the servers and the bus kids and the hosts and stuff like that, of how special that opportunity was to them, and what the fact that like college job for them could shape who they are as a person based
Sure.
on the example that we set.
Sure.
It's just like everybody's like messaging me and like because they try to prop you up because everybody wants to talk shit, you know.
Sure.
So like everybody, like customers and people like that are unhappy are reaching out going, oh yeah, it wasn't ever the same without you, and you know that's what they get for not holding on to you and stuff like that. And I'm like, just give me time to mourn.
Yeah,
Because I'm
yeah.
watching all these beautiful messages from all these kids,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I was just doing the
And
best
you
I
changed
could
lives, and you
at
changed
the
their,
moment.
you changed their
Changed
circumstances, you changed their lives.
Yep.
You probably gave them a much better perspective and outlook for their lives now. So yeah, you played a big role in their life, man, for that. Yeah.
The one thing that I think is a correlation between all those kids that were truly impacted in that time was they all really, truly are willing to chip away at their life until happiness emerges. Like they are just willing to just
And that's
fight
hard. A
through
lot of people don't do
whatever
that.
it is.
A lot of people do not do that.
And to take a look and
hard.
analyze it and go, hey, I'm walking down this path. I don't feel I'm quite happy, so it's time for me to pivot.
To pivot, yeah.
And they just, man, these kids are just.
That's immense courage to pivot in life
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so Robbie, I see you getting really emotional with
Mhm.
this, right? And I know you had like it's, I don't want to misspeak here, like a rough patch with your dad of how he was always hard on you.
Mhm.
With doing everything that you accomplished, has there ever been a moment in time where your dad looked at you and was like, "Hey, I'm proud of you"?
Um, no,
No.
he passed away, and
Sorry for your loss.
I thank you. I hoped for that moment,
Mm.
and I just like I would hear it from other people. Like other people would tell me, like, "Hey, when your dad talks about you, he's super proud of you."
Sure.
Um,
It's not the, but it's not the same when it comes
like,
from their mouth.
yeah, I always wanted to have that moment, and I just never. Like it was even like so, you know, he was really sick. He had lung cancer, and he was in. You know, I don't know what's worse if you lose like a parent suddenly,
Or knowing.
or knowing it goes on for a long time, and knowing that there's so much unresolved questions, and you know whether you have the courage to ask them or not. And to be quite honest with you, I think that he would have answered those questions. I didn't have the courage to ask him.
Sure.
I remember laying in the bed next to him for hours while he was sick, and just like, man, like the one I could say things to him, but to ask him the questions, I just think I waited too long, because by the time I had the courage, he just wasn't.
Do you think he was also afraid of what his answer possibly could have been? Maybe like rejection or
So
being
I was
hard?
afraid that I, I was afraid that man, that's a deep question.
My bad. I'm sorry.
I was afraid that the answer would continue to upset me.
I feel
Because
that.
he wasn't capable, because he wasn't raised by an emotionally capable person.
I got you.
So he wasn't capable of that sort of encouragement.
Sure.
He did the best with what
Their
he
way of
had.
affection was usually like tough love, hard love,
Yeah.
being hard on you, being on your ass.
Oh,
Yeah, I got you.
100%.
Feel that.
So I have this tattoo, which is a guest check.
Okay.
It says, "Do something even if it's wrong." And he would, when he's teaching me how to cook, I shit you not, he would sit on the edge of the line on a wood stool with a cigarette in his mouth, and he would ask me what was on the ticket, and he would tell me what to do. He would not get up. He would not help me unless I was like going down.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I would have a moment like a free time. You do something even if it's wrong. Do something even if it's wrong.
I like
Made
that.
you swim.
And
like
it was like, sure did.
Yeah.
Made you
And I'm
swim.
telling you, I was a bad motherfucker at 14.
Oh,
Wasn't
okay.
drowning.
You on the line at 14? Listen, I worked at McDonald's in high school and I was struggling.
So if I had the right prep cook, and my prep cook was my mom at the time,
Okay.
I could do 100 covers by myself. I could do 100 like people coming in like on the line, no help. I'm doing it. Now it had to be paced the right way, which my dad was an expert at.
Sure.
And having gone through this business, there's so many things about like what my dad did that I didn't realize he was really good at. But now I'm like, man, when I would work in a restaurant, it would be busy and there'd be somebody at the door didn't know what the fuck they were doing. So I started to do that.
Yeah.
I would work the kitchen line. I would be expediting the window, and I would see the glare on the front door,
Wow.
and I would know
Wow.
that the flow was coming in.
Sure.
But I would know that the 16-year-old hostess didn't, like, she's just supposed to seat people. She doesn't know when she's supposed to go on a wait or what she's supposed to go. So I would go out there and I would control her. You're on a 15-minute wait, and like start to pace it out myself from the kitchen, and I'm like looking at the guys, and I'm like seeing the flow come in. I'm counting covers, and I knew how many we could handle in every 15-minute period, and I'm counting, and I'm just so I started controlling it because I would have managers that had like managers from like chain restaurants that like they don't give a shit. Seat.
Sure.
They don't care if you can handle it. They don't care if the servers can handle it. They don't
How
care
long
if
would
you-
it be to
Nope. Sit. And I was like, nope. And the managers learned. Like, you
So
gotta
they followed.
learn.
So then, they're following your lead and following
Yep.
your way. So again, that leader mentality came out.
Yeah, and it really just came from a place of protecting my cooks, which, ironically, like I never put two and two together, but my dad was super hard on the cooks. And where our friction always was he was being a prick to the cooks, and I would stand between him and the cooks. Even at like 14 years old with guys that were like 20 something.
Sure.
Like I would stand between him and the cooks, like, and I would defend them.
But now you
Whether
see.
they deserve
But
it or
now
not.
you see why though.
Yep.
You see why it's hard to be a little more stern on the cooks.
Yep.
Like it's a tougher responsibility, you know.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
And I can be hard. Any of the guys that worked with me in that company with those three restaurants, I can tell you, like, and when we opened the breakfast restaurant, it was different. Breakfast cook is a different kind of person, and there were some personalities there. Like I was always used to yes chef loyalty, and I never asked for that. I just got it based on the caliber of cooks that came through that first restaurant and even the second restaurant. But when we went to open the breakfast spot, we were taking people from everywhere, from Denny's, from like whatever.
Oh, they had
Like,
no etiquette. They
No.
didn't know.
And I'm like,
the Waffle House.
and like I'm in a space for the first time ever where I have to get the respect of some of these people, and some of these people will whoop my fucking ass. So like I'm looking at
Took you out your comfort zone.
my man in the back that's like a linebacker
With a face tattoo.
With a face tattoo, and I'm like, and he's going, "What you fucking say to me?" And I'm like, "I fucking told you to put the food up. You want me to come back there and get it myself? I'll fucking come get it."
Respect.
And like it took like 1 week of that where they realized they couldn't push up.
You got to demand it. You got to demand it. Yeah.
And then they would start to jaw each other. So I had to go online and get between them. And I had never dealt with that before, but I did learn like kind of like pack dynamics that like the big dog is gonna bark at you more.
Sure.
And fight your neck a little bit.
Sure.
And, I would come back there and I'd be like, I don't give a fuck who you are or who you are, because I'm better than both of you.
Facts.
So if you can't figure out how to fucking get along, you shut the fuck up and do it.
Facts.
And it worked.
Yeah. That tough love came out. Tough love.
But I had the loyalty of those guys. And when I stepped out of that building, they couldn't manage them anymore. And there was one girl who's probably one of the most gifted line cooks I've ever worked with, and she worked the center station, which was the hard, because in this particular environment, you had like pancakes, omelets, French toast, all the egg dishes coming from one side, and all of the rest of the menu coming from the other side, and it converged in the middle, and she had to assemble the plates and put them up.
Wow.
And she was hard as nails.
Yeah.
And man, like when I was standing across from her, nothing, just hammering it out, putting food up.
Jeez.
And then when I was gone, they were like, she's unmanageable. And I'm like, no, she just doesn't respect you.
Wow.
So she's getting it from like you. I was like, go stand in that middle station.
Sure.
Go feel that.
Sure.
That shit don't feel good.
Right. It's a lot of pressure.
You got a cutting board and you got a flat top, and all the plates for the whole place are coming past you.
Wow. It's great observation.
Volume. We would do $16,000 between the hours of 8 and 11 in the morning in breakfast.
Yeah.
That's a lot of omelets.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of hotcakes.
It's a lot.
That's respect, man.
And it was my first opportunity or attempt, really. It was a chain breakfast restaurant, a high-end chain breakfast restaurant that is popular in Canada and it's coming to the States.
Okay.
But I hadn't.
What's the name of it? Oh, yeah. My bad. I got curious.
We're gonna disguise
Yeah.
the names of the innocent remain.
Yeah, it's all good.
But so it's making its way into the States, and it's a
Nice.
great concept. It was my
Nice.
first time opening a franchise, which really is like opening a kit in a box
Fire.
and building your restaurant based on that kit. But they're young in the franchise area, so like the kit was maybe missing some glue and some pieces,
Follow.
and it was like, the process was really humbling for me because I'm like, regardless of how I feel about this creatively, I have to teach this system and develop this way of thinking for these guys that's not my own, and also it's not complete. So but I also have to like defer to other people.
Sure.
And so another pivotal moment, we were opening that restaurant and doing such volume at breakfast I had never seen, and we were failing every day, like every day.
So although you was making all that money, you still was failing.
Yeah, we were failing to me from like I'm a zero complaints guy. Like like my restaurant, we could go months without complaints.
Okay.
Like that's the space that I live in. Not that it's perfection, but you perform above a threshold all the time. And we were getting complaints about the waits and people getting up and walking because they were sitting for an hour. Like we were making it further and further into the day every day before we had like that moment. But like we would be like, okay, we made it all the way through breakfast, and now it's like 1:30, and all of a sudden, boom, blanket sat, and the whole dining room's full, and now we're shit again.
Yeah.
And I remember I had a kid in the box. I was doing it their way. I was trying to do it their way. I'm rejecting it because like you got these corporate trainers who have no like they have loyalty to the brand, but they don't have your people.
Yes. They're not invested really into that. They're like, you take care of that part, I take care of that. Yeah.
And it was also the biggest space that they had ever built with the most seats that they had ever built, and the busiest out the gate. And like, I'm like asking the trainers to stand on the station and just work it to show my guys, and they were afraid of it. They were afraid of the volume that they wouldn't be successful, so they wouldn't do it.
Wow.
I'm like, just show them how it's supposed to be done.
Right.
Like, so they can see you do it. And then once they see you do it, they just weren't going to do it.
They're like, no, we're good, bro.
So I'm like, we're just failing every day. I'm like, this is not how I do it. And I remember I just had I'm tired of getting beat. I'm tired of getting beat. And I will say that now, like, that's a theme in my brain now. It's like a catalyst to where, like, if it's something I keep hitting the same brick wall,
sure,
I just have tired of getting beat.
Exactly. And you need to change direction to change.
Not do it this way. I need to do it a way that's going to make it work. So I remember I was there like 5 a.m. We opened at 8, and I'm cracking eggs into little cups, and I'm pre-setting some omelets, and I'm like firing off French toast because you can kind of like half cook French toast and then finish it in the oven. I'm like, kind of, they call it sandbagging, but I'm like, I'm getting ready. We are going
trying to get ahead.
We're going to make it through this day with all of our ticket times under a half hour. No one's going to complain, and it's going to be our first day. And the owner walked in, and it's super inspirational guy and everything. I mean, the company altogether has like 15, 16 restaurants now. But super inspirational. And he walks in, he's, "Chef, what's going on, man?" It's like, "Bobby, I'm tired of getting beat." And he just looked at me and he smiled and he goes, "I'm tired of it too." And I said, "One more thing. I know that you own this business, and I know that you're thinking you're helping, but I need you to not go anywhere near that front of that building and not stand next to the hosts. They take their cues from me. And we will make it through this service." And he's like, I'm up there. He's like, I'm trying to keep them from overseeing.
But he doesn't realize he's hurting. He's hurting.
He's like, they're telling you what they think you want to hear. And what I need them to do is just do the job the way that I asked them to do.
Wow.
And he stepped away. He sat in the dining room, had breakfast.
Respectfully, yeah.
We made it through the first shift ever without comping $1 in that space. And he was like, he just walked back to me after it was over, smiled, and he just said, "Heard, chef."
Yeah. Wow.
And that was it.
Wow.
and then they moved along
That's
with
dope.
that. Now we as the cooks got better, we dialed back on some of the things that I was like sandbagging. So now they don't do all that.
Sure, sure.
Um,
But again, this is another thing, the pivot, but also stepping, like you said, not natural to step in your leadership role, but when you do, see what happens. Every time you kind of know when to, okay, let me step out, take this leadership position.
but it's
Lead chef, like Chef Boy, man, you got it.
but I'm defending the cooks.
That's exactly.
I'm defending the cooks
Exactly.
are just they think that they're awful at this. They're not awful at this. The system's broken.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you all have to work together.
Mm.
But also, if my cooks ever start with the servers they have it so you go stand out there and talk to that grandmother.
Yeah.
You go stand out there and
I still have 5 other tables that you have to attend to, and
like you go stand in front of them. I was like, so here we go. I'm gonna burn this steak and send it out to that table. You go stand in front of them and you apologize for what I did.
And take all the harsh criticism.
And smile.
And take all the harsh words that they might say
Still
to
give
you.
them good service.
Yeah.
And it cooks. So
Yeah.
they just understood.
Every position is valuable. Yeah, every position
You
is
gotta
valuable.
respect everybody that you're on the team with. You
Yeah.
do.
Team, man.
It's in restaurants. It's very much tribal. Like
Mhm.
it's like the back and the front, and it's like that in 90% of places because they don't relate with the follies of each other's positions.
Sure.
And I just do not fucking tolerate it.
Yeah.
It's all hard because I've done that. I've served, I've bartended, I've hosted, I've done all that,
Mhm.
and it's not easy to stand in front of somebody who is upset about not receiving the value they expected to receive.
Yes.
Do you think because your father was really hard on the cooks, that's sort of why you haven't been like, I don't want to say hard, but you don't give them as much heat and you understand that you need to have a better relationship with them?
So yes, I would change that a little bit and say what I do is make them understand why.
Okay.
So if the heat comes,
Mhm.
there's a why behind it, which all of my culinary leaders were not really great at. You would say, "Hey, why do we do that?" Because that's the way we do it.
Yeah. Common answer.
Why do I have to do as I say, not as I do?
Sure.
Like, why? I'm, I've, like my father used to say all the time, I've forgotten more about food than you'll ever know. Like, and I've had mentors my entire life that have kind of been that way. So it's always been important for me to understand why, because I said so doesn't work real well.
It doesn't.
So, and I don't think it works real well with anybody, but I think that also it is a discovery of someone truly passionate can articulate why.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And someone who accidentally has fallen into something that they're kind of good at and just doesn't see a way out, doesn't really understand the why, just knows that that's what they were taught. I think that is a true difference between people that live life and people exist life. Is like you have to be able to take all of that information and you have to be able to apply it. You can only apply it if you understand why.
Absolutely.
So like even when we're like roasting something or braising something in the kitchen, I'm teaching a recipe for the first time. I'm very explanatory because I want them to understand this is why you sear it beforehand. This is why you put this amount of liquid. This is why we season it now. This is why we do it. So that not only is this product the best it can be, but the next time I give you something and I don't have time to show you every single thing, you understand how to do it because you understand the why.
Yep.
It's context, power and context. Yeah.
Do you think a up and coming chef that says eventually he wants to open his own business, he wants to, be, owner of his business, do you think that it would be a smart idea for them, taken from your experience, to learn what everyone's job is within that actual restaurant? Meaning, like you said, you did the host, you did the bartender. It was a whole bunch of things in the journey before you got to that point. This is why when you got in the kitchen amongst guys and females that were, in their own world, they monsters, but you were able to blend them together because of your experience. Because ain't no one gonna respect you if you ain't did their job. You don't understand them. You did, on the other hand.
Yeah, so I would say it depends on what that I want to own, I want to do. Like, it depends on what that goal is. If your goal is to own your own restaurant, then absolutely, you need to know it all.
Sure.
You need to know how to do it all,
The ins and
and
outs.
you need to be above average at it all.
Mhm.
As far as the direct to consumer processes are.
Mhm.
Now all the business stuff, you kind of learn that there's stuff that you like, stuff that you don't like. Some people like marketing, some people like numbers, you know. So like you kind of pick up some of those things, and there's enough people in the world that specialize in the other things that you can fill the gaps that you're not good at.
Mhm.
But from a standpoint, like if you want to be successful, you want to hold a high level of
I
standard,
know everything.
you have to be more than proficient in everything.
Mhm.
Unless you don't think it's important, then I would question how successful you're going to be.
Mhm.
Now, the caveat to that is someone who comes into the business and they cook and they work in a restaurant, and their job in that restaurant is the pasta station, and they find out that they really have a love for pasta.
Mhm.
And what they want to do is open a pasta stall in like a high-end food court, because they're all coming back, where they want to have like a food truck with pasta. I would say then you need to be well-rounded. You need to learn how to program a POS system. You need to learn basic customer service skills, but there is something to be said for specializing in that one thing.
Absolutely.
But you have to be humble enough to realize that you don't have the depth of knowledge around it all, and bring in people that do have those skill
Right.
sets.
Right.
And
Fire.
that's I think you should be well rounded, because I think it helps, because it allows you to adapt in undesirable environments.
Which will happen.
But there's a kid near us that does pizza, and he started his pop-ups. Like, his parents had a breakfast spot that closed, so he started making pizza like after they closed. And he's doing little pop-ups, and he's selling, I got 15 pies to sell, throwing it on Instagram and stuff like that, and he got really good at
And
it.
he used their business, like their place previously?
Yeah,
or-
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so he used that very building.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's called a ghost kitchen, and basically, like, that's something that happened before the pandemic in a cool way,
Okay.
and then it happened during COVID in a very much bastardized, let's find a way. So it was a way for a lot of places to just have more eyeballs on the
Sure,
fact that
front
they
game.
were selling food.
Right.
So like, I know an Italian restaurant near us that had, not only were they selling their product on DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and all that stuff, but they also had like a pizza brand and a pasta brand and a taco brand, because the guys in the kitchen were Latino, and like
Got you.
and they popped up these ghost kitchen concepts. Well, I'm like, you're not doing any of that.
That's
right?
crazy. I never heard of that term, a ghost kitchen.
Yo,
Never heard of that.
So like I said, it started beforehand. Really cool, because to sell food to the public, you generally need to have unless it's baked goods.
Unless it's what?
baked goods.
Okay.
You need to have a certified, licensed kitchen
Okay.
to work out of. So, but the problem with that is the overhead. Not everybody can pay to go have a kitchen. Now, the beautiful part is, in like Diner A, they're open from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. and then they close. They don't have any desire to come in and open late, but they're still paying the utilities and everything else for the time that they're closed. So if someone wants to come in and use that kitchen and sell food via DoorDash at night under their own label and pay them monthly, hey, like, I'm not, what's your rent for the space? $5,000 a month? Well, I'm only in here 10% of the time. So I'm going to take and give you 10% of that $5,000. I'm going to give you $500 a month to use your space. And I'm going to build my brand.
Wow.
And they get their rent subsidized, or their lease subsidized, or mortgage by having someone in there. And then that person gets a jumping off point.
Wow.
So my previous like jerk chicken / barbecue concept started that way during the pandemic. So we had a space in a kitchen that we used for a meal prep company, but it wasn't utilized any other, like, we did meal prep, we were basically done by 3 p.m. So it wasn't utilized, and I had a background in barbecue and a love for jerk chicken, so we went on this whole jerk chicken journey. To really develop the most like authentic recipe. And like, at first I was ordering in pimento wood, like, because you can't get it in the U.S. and that's really what they cook jerk chicken on in Jamaica. And like charcoal and pimento wood. So then we're like, okay, well, pimento wood is the allspice bush. So then we're taking allspice berries and throwing them on the fire while we're cooking them to kind of mimic that flavor. And everything.
Sure.
And we built it really good, but we or DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. We had our own website, uh, which they could order off of, and we just opened the front door to our space, put one of them like flying chickens, like a car,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
So like the flying man or whatever, but
Yeah.
ours was a chicken,
Yeah.
and we had the smoker out front so people could smell it when they drove by,
I know that's right. Jeez.
and people would drive by, smell the smoke,
Yeah.
stop, do a U-turn, come back, and be like, "What are you guys doing in here?" And then we started selling it. Man, we did really,
That's
really,
dope.
really
That's
good.
dope.
But it started as a ghost kitchen, and then we had ended up basically taking the front foyer of that space, which used to be a restaurant, and kind of like made it into a little incubator for what that concept would look like in a building on its own.
Fire.
And did really, really well. Now, since he and I parted ways, and he opened a second location, and now has repurposed that original space. But that's basically the concept of a ghost kitchen: is you're
Nice.
incubating
Nice.
until the point where it can live on its own.
Wow.
Or some super savvy, cheap operators just like do the ghost kitchen thing forever. And like in Philly, that's become a big thing. So they have a section in Philly, like commercial kitchen, they call it cloud kitchens. And basically it is like 10 kitchen lines right next to each other, and it's built for these ghost kitchen concepts. And my understanding, I need to go for a visit because they keep asking me to come up there and take a look at it. And I got a couple concepts in my brain, it'll be nice. But you basically drive through the center, and the kitchens are on either side, and they come out and like hand the food to like the DoorDash drivers. And
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, so it's a thing, and like
Bro,
I
people
said,
are innovative. People will find ways.
Yeah.
Well, it's
People are innovative. People will find ways.
COVID made you had to find certain things.
Yeah, it
Every
brought
day,
it brought
you
a
had no
whole
choice.
angst out of people. Yeah.
Yep, thrive or die.
Yeah, for real.
Cut your lights off, you gotta find light, right?
And it's like, so during the pandemic, I was still working for that company with 3 restaurants. I had started my meal prep company in my free time, and then we had the jerk chicken thing. But like in the restaurants, I was basically following the food distributors would send out a deal sheet every week. And the deal sheet was basically like, look, we had all these POs before we started closing things down, and the volume shrunk. We got to get rid of this stuff. So we're selling all this food pennies on the dollar. And we like, so every week I'm like watching Facebook, like, because people would go on Facebook and be like, oh, I really wish that we could find family dinners for
Right. I wish there was a spot that'd be close by.
Like, oh man, really want some seafood or whatever.
Sure.
So I'm looking at the deal sheets going, okay, what seafood we got on the deal sheets? Like,
Facts.
and I'm changing the menus and the specials every single week or whatever. I remember there being cases and cases and cases of rainbow gay pride cakes.
Yeah.
And they were literally $5 for a case.
Mm.
So the portion cost on these cakes, because they couldn't get rid of them.
Yeah.
So the portion cost on each slice of cake was like, I don't know, 20 cents.
Can't be.
So I'm putting it on the menu. I'm calling it Rainbow Bright Cake and selling the shit out of it.
Yeah, took
People were
lemons and
just selling the shit out of
Yeah,
it.
man.
And I'm like, but people were like, oh, I really want like cake and some baked goods,
Sure.
like cakes and pies or whatever.
Sure.
I really want seafood. I really want Cajun food. And I just was like adapting on the fly. Man, by the time we were like open back up, I was exhausted. Like, I just was like, trying to keep everything together. We're doing planners to go. We're doing these big brunch boxes at the brunch place, and just shifting every couple of weeks. But it was like, it was at one point the operators knew that I had like other businesses. And the other businesses were thriving in that environment, like the meal prep and the jerk chicken, thriving.
Nice.
And could support me on their own.
Awesome.
And they were like, "Hey, do you want to like leave and go on to do those things?" I was like, honestly, like, I think you need me right now. I was like, and I think that if I go walk away, like, a bunch of people are gonna lose their jobs.
Because you remember from that last experience when you end up leaving and so similar experience.
People are gonna lose their jobs, and I was like, as much as I could step away, I think you need me to be here, and I was glad that I was, because all of
how
those
much
people
longer
kept
were you
their
there
job.
for?
So all the way through the pandemic, and then probably another year.
Okay.
Something's gone on.
Yeah, everything opened up. It's probably another year after that.
Okay.
And I just was I was tired. I was kind of burnt, and the other businesses.
If you was working like that, I'm sure you was burnt out. Yeah, I'm
That's
sure.
a good burnt.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So Robbie, you said you're big into meal prepping right now, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so are
I
you
wouldn't say that I am, but I'm conscious eating and some meal prep. I'm
okay?
very efficient when I do meal prep and
Mhm.
how I go about it. And I use some companies
Okay.
that help with portions of that. So
Okay, so
Nice.
do you meal prep for other people?
yes.
So is it like athletes?
So I meal prep for my private chef clients. So
Okay.
they're home clients,
All right.
no athletes. So I used to, and I still would. It just kind of like that business kind of comes and goes depending on what the athlete's goals are.
Okay,
and
so it's
stuff like
more
that.
wavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but I'm certainly like if you have a question, I'm certainly like uh, an expert in that. I did it
Sure.
for a while.
Now you have a catering business, right? In just events.
Correct.
So, and I heard you name a few celebrities. So feel free if you can or if you can't. Um, how many celebrities are like? Can you name some celebrities that you are like that you've worked with or worked for, or like people that you've came across? Like, oh wow, they're going to be here, or wow, they're in the room, or wow, they're sitting over there in the corner.
So like I mean,
Like being a Delaware, Maryland guy to like now, rushing shoulders with pretty well known people that we see and hear about on TV, and just thriving in that realm.
yes, I mean, as far as like meeting them, I've met, a decent amount. As far as like being clients of mine,
Nice.
not so much. Uh, from a client standpoint in Delaware, I get a lot of like local athletes, local political figures, and
Got you.
stuff like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But you know, we used to do meal prep for Bilal Nichols.
Okay.
Plays for I believe he plays for Las Vegas now,
Okay.
but he used to be on the Giants.
Okay.
He's a local guy. Um, I just did a wine event with Elena Deladon.
Yeah.
Just a little tasting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
putting out our own wines and having all the proceeds from that wine donated to two funds, but one of them basically is propping up female entrepreneurs in the state of Delaware,
Nice.
um, giving them either education or funds to launch or grow or whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, on the shows I've met a bunch.
Mhm.
Met Lance Bass from NSYNC.
Okay.
He was one of my judges on
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
Bobby Flay.
Yeah.
Cool as shit. A
Yeah.
lot of celebrity
Did
chefs.
you ever like fangirl when you first met? You're like, oh wow, my first celebrity at my restaurant, or did you ever get nervous? Because you're in the kitchen, you're the chef. Like, did you ever get nervous or like, guys, tighten up, we got somebody coming today?
Like tighten up,
Yeah.
tighten up, because you want them to come back. Right?
Sure,
You
sure,
want
sure.
you want to have the cred of them being there.
Sure.
At the end of the day, they're just humans. Um, and I would say this. It was when I worked in Wilmington. It was a big deal back when he was vice president for Biden to come in. Although he ordered say what
He's a
you want.
Delaware dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Say what you want about the politics. That's
Yeah,
for,
neither here nor there.
that's for off this maybe.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal when he came in.
Sure.
He angel hair pasta with shrimp, like the simplest shit ever.
Sure.
Um,
You got the best angel hair pasta ever, though.
yeah. But it's funny once you do TV and you see them kind of behind the scenes. Like,
They're regular people.
they're
man.
regular people.
Sure.
And Guy. So the first show I ever did was Guy's Grocery Games,
Mhm.
and I remember meeting him, and he was so approachable
Mhm.
that it removed the veil of like,
Mhm.
okay, this is a big deal,
Mhm.
like immediately.
Mhm.
And then it was like, okay, well, like, they're just like normal dudes.
Sure.
And he's like over there while they're judging, and he's got his phone out over here. Yeah.
Got you. Oh, yeah.
And but I'll tell you, my first episode, I have a lot of respect and a lot of love for Guy, because first episode, one of the guys that was competing had some shit to say about the rules,
Mhm.
like kind of like complained about him a little bit.
Mhm.
And man, I watched Guy.
You
Guy
got
was on his phone, he had a flip phone. I remember hearing it smack shut. I was like, ooh, shit, he fucked up.
Yeah.
and Guy goes, and Guy's whole thing is gratitude for your life. He goes, did I just hear you complain about the rules that your other competitors thrived in and you did not? You beat out tens of thousands of people to be here. And he got his like lapel mic, and he's like, this guy seriously beat out tens of thousands of people to be here? He's like, you ungrateful fuck.
Wow.
He was like, I can't believe that you have the audacity to come here and complain about the rules.
Wow.
Everyone else completed with the same rules.
Sure.
He's like, you're the guy that goes out and plays football and bitches about the field. He's like,
Keeps it real though.
He's like, if you want to go home, we can send you home.
Wow.
But if you want to compete,
Right.
you can shut up and compete.
Sure.
Yeah, he's privileged to be there.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah,
It's
I
real.
like this guy. Um,
No pun intended.
that competitor got saved in that round because somebody like
Mhm.
tanked real bad.
Sure.
And ended up doing well. But I was like, okay, now I got respect for Guy. But then you see the human side of Guy, which
Sure.
is something that he doesn't get a lot of credit for because he's such a character and such a personality.
Yeah.
But like Guy is a huge Make a Wish Foundation contributor,
Mhm.
and like at one point he's like out. We go to a trailer and he's like out laying on his belly playing like Matchbox cars with a kid in the parking lot.
What?
And I was like, oh, is that Guy's kid? And they were like, no, it's a Make a Wish kid that wanted to meet him. So he's
Wow.
like in between takes, he's like hanging out, and the kid's sitting in his
That's
chair
dope.
and stuff like that.
That's dope.
You never hear he doesn't take credit for any of that.
Mhm.
But during the pandemic, there is not a person that raised more money for restaurants and restaurant workers than him.
Wow. Respect the guy.
Yeah, that's a lot of respect.
Yeah.
man.
Much respect.
Like
Yeah.
and he doesn't stand up in front of it. He stands up in front of it as a personality to prop it up.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
also all the people that have jobs, like people knock him because of his restaurants and his over the top everything or whatever. Number one, the guy can really cook
Mhm.
because I can tell the way he speaks about food.
Mhm.
It's very intelligent,
Mhm.
but they cut all that out. So, and that's one of the things about the critiques on these shows that I will say they cut all that shit out. Like
Mhm.
the super technical, like chefy stuff,
Yeah.
they cut it out because it goes over people's heads as viewers.
Yeah.
So you never get to see him articulate food
Sure.
in that intelligent, proper way
Sure.
because that goes over somebody's head. I remember getting critique about the crepes I made in the first round on that show from I don't even know what her name was, but I didn't have a whole lot of respect for her when I went on there because I'd seen her critique.
Mhm.
And she started like going into the intricacies of like the cellular structure and the components and the need for it to rest and whatever. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm humbled. Now I'm going to listen to everything because obviously my perception of who they are is
Sure.
just based off of what is meant to be my perception.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
And Guy's great in that way. Guy does he basically does hot dog carts and pretzel carts,
Yeah.
and they donate them to people that are re-entering society from incarceration, so that they can prop themselves up and start their own business.
Dope.
It's a whole
Excellent.
program that he's a part of that does that.
Shout out to him. Shout out to him. Yeah.
And that other guy on that show where you go on and beat him, he don't do all that shit. So
Gotcha.
not that he doesn't do charity work, but
Yeah.
they're just two different people, and
Sure.
different experiences with
Sure.
both of them. But
Sure.
the utmost of respect for
Yeah, I never knew that about Guy.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know.
No.
He said pretzel stands and hot dog stands?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know if it's still active now, but I knew like when I was
Yes.
out there that was the thing.
Okay.
Now, speaking of information going over your head in that particular show, what I liked about Pressure Cooker when I was watching it was the intellectual side. Hearing you guys all delegate and speak in your own, it was almost like your own culture language. It was only in your own
Mhm.
language. You guys were like having your own language. I'm like, yo, what does that mean? Now I'm Googling, what does that mean? Okay, what does this mean? And it was very, very interesting that you was able to get the intellectual side of it rather than just like, oh, they're just cooking. No, there's so much detail and pressure, no
Yeah.
pun intended, in it, you know. But it was very interesting. I love the education. Just the amount of knowledge that I've learned from watching that alone was dope.
Yeah,
It's dope.
it's really a special show. I hope that they end
Yeah.
up renewing it. I think that Netflix is slow to renew things.
Sure,
forward.
sure.
I mean, I thought Drink Masters was an awesome show,
Mhm.
and they just renewed Drink Masters,
Mhm.
which aired like
Mhm.
a year before
Mhm.
Pressure Cooker. So I have hope that
Sure.
we'll see a second season
Sure.
of Pressure Cooker. Hope they invite us back. Go Netflix.
That would be dope.
Be you don't need the food critics next time. You just need all the chefs to come back from
Facts.
season one.
Facts.
Um,
That'd be dope.
But I was saying it the whole time because I was going through a literal nightmare, like with what was going on outside of. But the cast and crew really made it
Excellent.
livable.
Excellent cast. Yeah, they all distinct personalities.
100%.
It was cool. It was really cool to watch. I was like, yo, this is interesting, yo. This is so cool
There's-
to watch.
There's probably just like two that I don't talk to at all.
Sure.
Everybody, I mean, Ed and I are super tight.
Yeah, yo, he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a beast, yo. I was like, this dude is serious, yo. Serious.
So Ed is incredibly talented. He put out a hip hop album. I went to his hip hop launch party. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to follow him if you
Yeah.
know the music.
Nah, I
videos,
will.
too.
I will.
It's definitely got like even though it's like he's from New York, it's got like to me like 90s California vibes.
Sure. Well, he's an older man, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of
Yeah.
grew up in the era. Okay, so he can bring
He's,
that in.
he's the oldest guy on the show, but
Gotcha.
as I've been educated, black don't crack, so he looks younger than me.
Unless you use it, they said. Like crack unless you use it, folks.
So he's so we went and visited Atlanta when he had his hip hop his
Nice.
album launch party, and we've vacationed a couple times. Went to his wedding.
Mhm.
Gina, who everybody hates on the show,
Yeah.
everybody hates. Gina's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
coolest person
yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Like Gina's come to Delaware and like coached. So she came. Her and Ed both came last year for that Pro Star competition. They judged the kids.
Nice.
So
Nice.
they came and did, coached and spoke and judged the kids, and it was super awesome. She's opened a restaurant, so I won't see her this year for that, but
Sure.
but she's a lot of fun. I mean, it's pretty obvious probably the people that I don't talk to. I talk to all the people that voted for me
Right.
more than the people that don't.
Sure.
Um, Mike is just focused, head down, doing his own
Mike,
thing.
yeah,
So
Mike too. Yeah.
Mike probably talks to Ed the most out of everybody, but like every once in a while I'll call Mike or Mike will call me or something.
Gotcha.
It's funny because Mike hadn't watched any reality TV, had never watched like any
He
of
goes
that
on
stuff.
one.
Yeah,
That's
he
great.
didn't know anything about it. So it was the day to day. Mike was the funniest guy on the show, and you don't see that. Like,
No, you don't really
see
that much.
come across. Mike was like, we'd have downtime. He's writing like poems to like the camera guys, like, "Hey, I liked your shoes. Would you like to come to my restaurant and eat my food?" Like he's like, he's like,
Don't captivate that. They should have had that on
it
there.
was so man, he was
That's
so
cool.
funny,
That's cool.
and like he very much didn't understand that like when you're on a show they have set you don't talk about production. Like while you're on camera or whatever, you don't talk about production. You talk about what goes on behind the camera or whatever, or camera guys or people. You don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And Mike didn't understand that. So
Got you.
they would be like,
they had to do a lot of cuts then to cut that out.
They would like ask him a question or say something like, "Hey, why don't you go talk to Robbie about what just happened?" He seems pretty upset. And Mike would go, "Hey, Robbie, they told me to come talk to you about." You're not supposed to do that. Don't talk about production.
Cut it.
They would make good bloopers though. I feel like they would make good bloopers. That's
But
funny.
that's what makes him genuine too.
Yeah.
Some of them are
so
so good. Oh man, the whole
memories,
show,
man.
like that. Like
Yeah. The challenges were very interesting.
very
The way they set those challenges up, it was like I've heard other people say it was almost a mix between a good cooking show and slightly Big Brother.
Yeah,
It was very interesting. Very how they set that up.
This was a mix between Top Chef and Big Brother.
Got you. I can see that.
So like I only ever wanted to be on Top Chef. That was the first show I ever applied for.
Sure.
So like when they said that, I was like, oh yeah.
Then he said Big Brother, and you're like, wait, what?
I was like, so I never watched Big Brother. So my wife is like a super fan.
Yeah.
So then I went back and I literally researched top 10 best Big Brother competitors, and I went back and watched their seasons. Now the GOAT is, in my opinion, is a guy named Dan Giesling. He was on like the first or second season.
Okay.
And he's been on since and won. And this guy can talk himself out of being on the
Out of
chopping
hell.
block. Like nobody's business, and they don't even think that he's like lying or being deceitful. He's actually on a show now on Peacock called The Trader.
Oh, that's a great show.
So he's back on that now.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that.
And I'm like, and he's just like the best at getting out stuff. So I was researched. I was prepared. I was prepared to play the game, but I never had to. And there's like, I mean, man, the internet was tough on me because like they were like, you shouldn't have beat Mike, because they also like in the edit they edited the finale to look like I just made like 3 terrible things.
Okay, yeah, I know what you mean.
Really, in all reality, if they'd been present for all of the feedback, they like people would understand that it was much closer than that, and there were mistakes on his too.
Yes,
but I think that it was edited in a way to make it look like I was going to lose, and then I was surprised.
Sure.
Wow. But it was, and there were definitely 2 people that came to that final table, and their only goal was for me to lose.
Gotcha.
Didn't care what I made. I could have made their favorite dishes by their favorite people, absolutely perfect, and they were going to be like, "Well, I've seen this before." Like, so it's like there were 2 people. They came to the table, and the shitty part is like that kitchen is like a box like this. So the table is like up here.
Yes.
So I'm cooking on this side, and then Mike is cooking on this side. I can hear everything they're saying. So
That's
I'm hearing this little fella over here talk all this shit, and and Mike is like, and I walked over to Mike at one point. I was like, man, I wish I was on your side of the kitchen. He goes, why? He goes, they're the same. He was like, and you closer to the grill, and I was like, nah.
That ain't it.
I was like, I have to hear everything.
Yeah,
they're
you're
saying.
hearing them
He
critique.
goes,
Yeah.
oh shit. He's like, are they being mean? I was like, not to you.
So that has to be even tough. Like while you're performing and doing your thing, you're in your zone. You actually are literally hearing critics
Oh, 100%.
critique
Mhm.
in a negative. Like that even
100%.
is more challenging. Wow.
100%.
Wow. Wow.
Did you catch at any
Interesting.
time that it was messing with you mentally? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Again, that
I
discouragement.
started I started to second guess it, and I've filmed more TV since.
Mhm.
And what's funny is I was in proximity
Mhm.
to the judges. I could hear them,
Mhm.
and I was starting to adapt my plan to what I was hearing,
Mhm.
and I made something I wasn't super proud of,
Mm.
but
You
I
adjusted
got
on
an
the fly.
opportunity to
Mhm.
gotta be careful. I
Mhm.
got an opportunity to still push forward,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm gonna shut it off.
Sure.
I'm gonna shut it off and stop listening to it.
Yeah.
'Cause I learned that from that situation. It's
Sure.
like,
Sure.
I said the next time I went on a TV show, I would perform in a way that was fucking undeniable.
Absolutely. Right.
So that Reddit and all the trolls or whatever, they could say what they want, but they
Right.
can't come in and say that, it's not. Um,
Shut them all up.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
shut
it's
them
like,
all up.
that's my goal now. Like, and I'll do more TV, but doing TV moving forward,
Awesome.
it will be undeniable.
Awesome.
Like it will
Awesome.
be a flawless performance.
No, yeah, you guys killed it. That was a dope show. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm hearing all that shit talking, and like, but I'm also hearing like Ed not defend me, but try and be like, yo guys, like we're here, like
Mhm.
here's the premise of why we're here and having
Mhm.
this conversation.
Mhm.
Like I feel like you're not being fair to both of these
Sure.
guys.
Sure.
And
Well, I think that was also the purpose in the sense of that's where the Big Brother aspect came in. You guys are coming to win. So one, this person's going to be the main winner, but then you also in certain of the challenges, you guys had to be each other's teammate.
Yep.
Like you would have one of your guys that might have won. Your guys are opponents, but now this person's on your team helping you still get there. So that's what makes it more interesting that you guys have the relationship of you guys is more intertwined rather than being extremely professional. Because you guys are on set, but you guys are living together for this period of time.
100%.
So yeah, you guys build connections, but at the same time, you build distances with the other people. So yeah, I think that's what made it even more interesting seeing the relationship dynamic.
And we were living together 24 hours a day. And that's the other thing is like you didn't see a lot of like the interpersonal stuff, which I think for a season 2
Mhm.
would be the beautiful stuff for people to see. Because I mean, we're making family meal for each other. We had family meal every night. We would do theme nights. So like the first night that we cooked for each other,
Mhm.
we had like pizza night. So I made the pizza the day
Mhm.
before, used the pizza oven.
Nice.
On it like 3 times the whole show. You saw the pizza oven
Yeah.
used. But we had taco night. We did Indian night. Like we're just like
Facts.
and we had like beer Olympics one night. Played Twister another night. Like
Dope, yo. Yeah, they should like put some
Beer Olympics and Twister.
But you, who made a meal that you remember?
that's like
one of the-
memorable.
that was memorable in your head.
So
'Cause chef-
I will say that of the food made on the show, Renee made things consistently that I thought were the most delicious. Whether they were the best representation of that challenge or not necessarily the case, but she made food regularly that I was like, fuck, that's good. And still to this day, I'm like, man, she really like there's an intuitiveness of flavor there for her that is really, really good. Now she wants to make what she wants to make.
Yeah.
Like you're playing a game too, you got to pay attention.
Sure.
But her fatal flaw was in that last monochromatic challenge.
Yeah.
She tried something with a piece of, and like my advice to
It's
anybody.
monochromatic, yes, yeah.
My advice to anybody competing on a food TV show is never trust the equipment because it's there for a temporary amount of time. Like if it's not tried, true, and trusted, like you haven't used it before in the competition and it worked for you, like don't use it now.
Yeah.
So like she used the immersion circulator and it wasn't on. But also, there's things that you can do to that product that she didn't do because she relied on her fundamentals in a great working piece of equipment
Mhm.
to not have to use those additives.
Mhm.
And it came back to, but I probably would have
Sure.
put it in there to
Sure, sure.
there's a
And you can
there's,
see where it kind of derailed a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, so there's a product called transglutamate. Basically, what it is, it's like meat glue. So if you have two protein sources pushing together with this sprinkled on the surfaces, it will fuse them together, and you can cook it with them fused together. So she could have used that, but she didn't because she wanted it to be natural.
Mhm.
And the way that she did it, it should have worked. Unfortunately, the water bath wasn't where it should have been and didn't function like the way that she's used to a water bath
Okay.
functioning. So it just didn't work out for her.
Gotcha.
But the idea was there.
Yeah.
It's like
That's the thing. The ideal could be there as well, and it's like culinary arts is it's a very like I'm nowhere near in that realm, but I was like I said highly engaged, and I was like, this is deep.
Yeah.
There's a lot to this because again, for me, watching other shows, it's just entertainment, giving you this point of view. This is like you're learning.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, and plus I'm just learning more about you. So I'm like, okay, we in school. I thought I was a culinary
and
school.
I mean, you saw me like these kids knew how to do shit that I didn't know.
Yeah, they was working, bro.
So
It was
I'm like,
moving.
every time they did something, I was like, show me that.
Yeah.
Show me that again.
Yeah.
Like one of the first days we did like breakfast. Caroline made hollandaise with a blender. She didn't do like the traditional method. I was like, I never done that before. Show me how to do that.
Yeah.
Like Mike was like, I'm making Dippin' Dots. I was like, show me how to do that.
Sure.
Which is why my finale, and also like the finale story kind of got like edited out some. Super emotional for me, not for Mike because it's just not that guy, but like it was, my finale theme was a journey home, and it was the first fine dining dinner I'd ever had out with my dad, but redone my way with all of the things I had learned from them throughout the show.
Yes.
So each dish had something that I learned from one of them throughout the entire show.
Wow.
But also in the guise of it being this meal that I had and it being super important, and also told the story that we lost my childhood home, and probably right around the time I was like 18, 19, and I felt like I didn't feel at home again until I met my wife. And kind of like that whole story and that whole arc. But it really was like I was learning from these guys in real time and then applying the things that I learned.
Sure.
But one of the things I learned on look, if you're going to go on a food TV show, this is the one thing that you need to know. Do not fucking trust the blast chiller. Not ever.
Very specific.
Yep. The blast, don't trust them.
Yeah.
Unless you put about 10 drops of water in there and you see it freeze in under 15 minutes, don't trust it.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
So like on pressure cooker, like after the first two people did something in the blast chiller and it didn't.
He was like, I'm
like,
good off that. Good
I'm gonna go old school with a tray and ice and rock salt in the freezer. I
love it. I
love
love
like country ice cream.
Yeah. No, that was very entertaining.
Yeah. So Robbie, I have other curiosities. You're with First Form?
Yeah.
So how did you get linked up with First Form?
I was a fan and a supporter for years and years and years. So I originally, when I went down like the self-development like pathway, I started listening to like Tim Ferriss and Lewis Howes, and then Lewis Howes had Andy on as a guest. And then I was like, man, I really like this guy. I like the candor that he works with. So then I started listening to the MFCEO project, and I went back and listened from episode 1. And because this is when I was building the meal prep company, and we would do our own deliveries. So while we were out on deliveries, I could pound through like 2-3 episodes or whatever because I'm out there for 4 or 5 hours. So I just hammered through them all, and I was like, man, I really like this. So then I started buying the products and stuff like that. And one of their Legionnaire coaches at the time was friends with me online, and he was like, hey man, like I know that you're like at the beginning of your journey and like figuring things out, but would you want to be a part of this program? So I jumped in to be a Legionnaire and dived into that program and got the education and was coaching a few people and getting some results and stuff like that. But I've always been a fan. I share the brand.
Yeah, they're dope.
Yeah, their culture as a brand. I went out there the one year that they opened up, just by happenstance, that they opened up Fall Fest.
Where was this at?
So St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went. They sold tickets to Fall Fest like they sell tickets to Summer Smash, and it was the only year that they did that. And so I went out and went to Andy's farm. I met Andy, met his dad, met Sal. I actually ran a 5K next to Sal. He was pushing a stroller, but I was still close. but you know, and got to really see the culture of that company and the amazing thing that you don't, no matter what you, because Andy's intense, right? And the person that he is on the podcast is super intense and super direct and not always super nice, but that's what's required in today's world. And you know, I love Jordan Peterson saying like you have to be capable of violence but able to control it.
Absolutely.
So I think that Andy really embodies that that kind of like personality type. But when you meet him, the amount of humility that he has is incredible. I don't know if you guys have ever had a chance to meet him or anything like that.
Not meet him, no.
Not yet.
He will walk right up to you, shake your hand, and say, "Hi, I'm Andy." Like you don't know who the fuck he is. Like, and it's like because he doesn't expect you to know who he is.
That's dope.
And I remember, so I was at the farm, and he pulled up on like a golf cart sort of thing, and he gets up and he stands, and I'm like, also what you don't understand when you watch him seated at a podcast is the dude is like a fucking Amazon man. Like he's gigantic.
Yeah.
Like, so he stands up and he's towering over this golf cart, making it look like a matchbox car.
Wait, how tall is he?
He's tall. Like he's tall. And Emily, just as tall as he is. So you're like,
Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Their kids are gonna be monsters.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna be monsters.
so
That's dope.
so he gets up, and just by where I was at, I wasn't like, I was just like around the fire pit, and I was the first person he saw. So he walked right over to me. He was like, "Hi, I'm Andy."
Wow, that's what's up.
Like, I know who you are, and like I gave him, you know, props. Like at the time, I was an Arte member, and I was like, you know, I'm in Arte, and you've really helped my business. We've grown from this to this, and I appreciate what you do. And he was like, "Yeah, man, fucking love that." Gave me a fist pound, and then just moved on to like the next person. And his dad. So, and then I'm like asking for like photos with athletes. I remember his dad standing next to one. I asked Claire and Hannah Jamraz at the time, but Hannah Jones now, two of their elite athletes. I was like, "Hey, can I get a picture?" Because I followed them online. They're like, "Yeah, sure." And his dad's like, "Oh, you don't want a fucking picture with me?"
Oh,
I'm like, "Sorry, Jim."
get it, Bob. Get it, Bob.
But just hanging out at the farm, playing pool, and all that stuff, and really got to feel like what that culture is.
Sure.
And the one true word for that culture is welcoming. Like
It's awesome.
It's
a good feeling.
They are like amazing. So
Very good feeling.
I had actually kind of like, I realized throughout like while I want to help people, I want to coach people, and I'm good at motivating and coaching people. Like coaching people in that format is not necessarily for me. I can inspire people in that format. So I kind of like took a step back from being a Legionnaire and focused on survival mainly because, you know, came home and separated from business partner and had to refigure out like how I was going to make an income and how we were going to pay our bills and stuff like that while we worked all that out. So I'm like struggling to do all of that. And then I guess Tyler, so if anybody's a fan of the MFCEO project from back in the day, he's MC Salmon Pants. Like Andy used to call him MC Salmon Pants. He used to walk in with these salmon colored shorts all the time.
Dang.
And he was the original recorder of the podcast. He would, you know, record it while Andy and Vaughn were talking.
Okay.
So I guess he put a post out to like their people, like, "Hey, looking for a chef to do some cooking videos. Do we know a celebrity chef or something like that?" And a bunch of the guys that like work in the office were like, "This guy's been a Legionnaire for a long time, and he's you know, he's done this show. So Tyler reached out to me, and I'm like, "I think that's MC Salmon Pants."
Yeah.
That's who that is.
Yeah. What were you feeling? What was going through your mind when you got that call of like, "Hey, we want you to embark with us and join us"?
Unbelievable gratitude.
Yeah.
Like here's this opportunity, this amazing company with these amazing people that I truly believe in and admire.
Sure.
They want to have my expertise come and be a part of their brand.
Dope, bro.
It's huge. Immediately going, I need to provide tons of value, but I need to not let them walk on me. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
You won't be the newbie
This guy's a pussy.
Yeah. Walk all over you like that.
So, but we had that conversation, the first conversation, and I guess he liked it. And at the end of the conversation, I was like, "I got a question." He goes, "Yes, I fucking am." And I'm like, "You're MC Salmon Pants." He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "On fucking pants. I'll never live those pants down."
Worst decision ever.
And
Right?
he still wears them though.
Oh,
And he's, by the way, like when you would listen to him back in the day on the podcast,
Yeah.
like I had a totally different vision for what that guy was gonna look like
Yeah.
when I met him. And he's like fucking so fit and so like, yeah. I mean,
beast
he
mode.
does the work.
Sure, beast mode. That's dope.
So then, you know, he was like, I have one of our athletes, and I followed Jenna Fail. You know, she can't cook worth a shit. Like, is what he told me. And we went to the show to be about you teaching her how to cook.
Sure.
Now, she can cook, but she cooks the things that she cooks. So we meet, and there's some chemistry between the three of us, and he's basically like, okay, I'm sending you a videographer, a photographer, the manager. You're gonna go to Jenna's, and you're gonna film, and I want you to cover these things, but like figure it out.
Wow.
And so I did that, and we filmed the first season, and I'm like looking at myself in the mirror, going like, something's got to change. Like something's got to change. I'm involved with this brand. I'm not a good representation of this brand. I don't want to be that fucking guy.
So you feel like you wasn't giving it. You feel like something was missing on your part.
Oh, 100%. Like I felt like, you know, from a physical standpoint, you know, I'm now with First Form, and they are about like real people, meeting real people where they are. It's 100% who they are.
Yeah.
But also, I'm standing next to a First Form athlete,
Sure.
and the camera guy is a team member at First Form that's lost 100 fucking pounds, doing 75 hard.
Wow.
And like you have all this influence around you, and then Jenna's husband walks in the room. I don't know if you've ever seen Chris Fail, but
yeah.
So he's jacked.
Yeah.
So he walks in the room, and I'm next to like a couple supermodels,
Got it.
and then this guy's lost 100 pounds. Here I am, like not happy with where I'm at.
Right.
Like I gotta do something.
Right.
So I actually went home.
That's good though that you had that awareness though. Not to cut you off. It's good that you have that self-awareness of realizing like, okay, I'm around some people who take care of themselves. This time that I'm getting ready to do this for me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
And it was having to, like, knowing that I had to put out a good product. Like we had to put out a good show that was useful to people, and it changes all the time. We figure out more and more, like what it means to be fail-proof kitchen, and we're adapting, and it's getting better every single time we film. But I went home with a sense of like, I'm not doing the work from a brand perspective.
I got you. I follow.
I'm not doing the work necessary to deserve this chance. And it actually like fucked with me a little bit. I went on a downslide, and I put on some weight when I went home from the first season, and I was like, enough's enough. And I remember reaching out to Tyler and just thinking like, by proximity, being closer to this company and these people is going to make me better.
Sure.
So I just remember reaching out to Tyler and going, hey man, like if there's anything else I can do to help write recipes, be a part of whatever, I would love to do that and be a part of that. And he reached back out to me. He said, do you know Bella? She's one of their athletes now. She went through a tremendous transformation. He goes, we did a series that I called True Form with her when she was going through her transformation. Would love to do that again. And we were going to do it with somebody, and it didn't work out. Ironically, his name was Robbie too. So, would you want to do it?
Wow.
And I'm like, well, tell me more about it. It's basically like we want to bring you in and go through our program for a full year. We want to videotape it.
True.
So that's what I'm doing right now. So at that point, from that point, at my largest in my life ever, down 32 pounds.
Beautiful, man.
That was July.
Congrats.
So.
Oh, okay.
Congrats.
Yeah, that was July. And in full disclosure, I probably should be down a little bit more than that. I'm a caterer in the holidays, and
you work around.
lost
focus.
focus.
Man, listen, I'll give you
That's
credit.
tough,
Bro.
man.
Give you credit.
And so I think now I'm on like day 15 of 75 hard. Like I started the new year with everybody else.
Okay.
And just focused on, being a good representation of the brand, but more importantly, I got a little girl on the way.
Yep.
She gets here in 2 weeks.
Congrats.
And my father died at a young age from largely things that should have been avoidable.
Mm-hmm.
And because he didn't take care of himself, there was no physical fitness there. There was no dietary discipline, physical fitness, nothing. He died from lung cancer, but like he could have fought it longer had he been in a good physical place to do it. And I just I'm not going out like that. I'm gonna walk my little girl down the aisle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna because he wasn't there when I got married, And I'm just like, I'm not going out like that. And that was a big between feeling like I had this opportunity that I had I worked for come into my life, being grateful for it, but not feeling deserving because I wasn't doing the work, and knowing that I was going to be a father, and I'm staring at like, and it was like I went to the doctor, and they were like, you have like fatty liver disease, or like the starts of fatty liver disease, and I was like, holy shit, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like, and then I like, and then I'm going out to film season 2, and I put on my first form chef jacket to go film season 2. I'm like, I just grabbed it out, put it on, and it was like I almost couldn't fit into it.
Gotcha.
And I was like, fuck me.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
man.
was like, not only was I not the best representation when we filmed the first one,
But then you,
I'm worse
right.
now. And it was like, in all these things, I was like, it's gotta fucking happen now.
Sure.
And you know, I'm just grateful for them and fortunate for them. I went out to visit HQ, and when you go out to their headquarters, it's a whole different, like, you can't understand it until you see it. Like, people talk about it online, you listen to the podcast and guests talk about it, what it's like to go there and to see things, but it's, you can't understand it.
Really?
Like, you cannot understand the level of culture and the level of excellence in that building until you walk in it. From the moment you walk in and the way that you are greeted, to how the bathrooms are, to how every chair, every table is. They don't have a cleaning crew. They don't hire anybody to clean. They all self-clean.
Wow.
Okay.
So I'm in, and I'm watching because I've been a fan of the show.
Yeah.
And I've heard all the stories about the bathrooms, and like Andy talks about cleaning the bathrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've heard all that.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the bathroom. I finish up. Somebody finishes up next to me. They're washing their hands, and there's water in the sink and a couple drops on the counter. And they go over, grab a paper towel, dry the drops off the counter, wipe the faucet, and dry the whole sink out, so it looks like it's a brand new sink when they're done.
Wow.
And then throws it away.
That's dope.
And I was like, holy shit.
It's like, all right.
So then I look, and they like, I'm doing the tour, like they do a tour, and they're like, notice the wheels on all the chairs. And you look down this whole giant building, and all of the wheels, like on all these swivel chairs, they're all facing exactly the same.
Oh, this is OCD to the max.
Right.
I'm playing
And, it's like, and I'm like, man, that's so fucking hard. How annoying. Like, I'm
like there's literally somebody who literally
no
fix these wheels.
No, so basically, like, they have a way that they put the chair back.
Oh, so they're just
like
very.
they do like a little circle and put the chair back, and that makes sure all the wheels are in the same direction.
Okay.
But like, you know, on this table, like, you know, there, you know, you'll see like prints from us leaning on it or whatever. Yeah. They have like cleaner in all the rooms, and they
immaculate,
spotless.
Wow.
All of the weights, all of the weights in the weight room,
culture,
facing exactly the same direction. They have pre-workout, post-workout on a table for everybody. It's on a black tablecloth. You know, all those powders are white and shit, so they can see.
So
if somebody leaves
like
a fucking mess,
wow.
There's a towel there, like a microfiber towel for you to wipe it up. Don't leave your Formula One dust on that table. Because they will.
Yeah.
Somebody will hold you accountable.
Wow. Yeah, it's about accountability, man.
Yeah,
it's everything. Same thing with 75 hard. That's why you're doing it.
100%.
You know, I always hear people say, you know, I would die for my kids, but you also got to live for them too. You know, and that's something that you should hang your head high on. You know, that's it's hard. 75 hard is hard. I don't know if you guys know what it is.
I've heard of it, not too much of it.
So I mean, you know, last night's a perfect example. So I got up. I'm looking at another business opportunity. So I got up early and went to do that. I was planning midday to get my outdoor workout in. Didn't work out. The conversation went longer than it was supposed to, and then we had to prep for a dinner party. So we went, did the dinner party and everything like that. Now I had kept to my diet, 100%, had my water in, but you have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. You have to have an outdoor workout, an indoor workout. Both of them have to be 45 minutes, and they can't be consecutive. So there has to be at least an hour in between.
Wow.
So
and
like
all that is a 75 hard.
For 75 days.
Got you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No alcohol, no cheats on the diet. You have a Skittle, you're fucking done.
I'm over here like, yeah, I think I might start that next week. Yeah. Boy, I start that next week.
And you have to take a progress picture. So it's like a flip book when you're done every single day, and those are the tasks. And so last night I'm like on my way home from like cleaning up. I'm like, I got like all of my shit to do. So I went, put on my weighted vest, put my jacket on, went out for a walk.
Yeah.
Did my walk, and my neighborhood's hilly, so I like can
Okay.
just do
Sick,
hills.
sick.
So I did the walk outside. I came in, I read my 10 pages. I puttered around the house, did like some computer work and stuff like that. And then I went down, put the weighted vest on, and went and did the treadmill in my house. Like,
Much respect.
You gotta have
it
a
was
routine.
Like, it was
Yeah.
like
I'm gonna learn more
120.
about this.
It was like 120. Yeah. So I'm excited to have to leave out of here and go get my workout in. So I'm
Yep.
trying
That's
to
one
cram
thing
it
out of
all
the
in.
way.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, so right after I started this true form process and everything, I went to do 75 hard and I failed. And I started again and I failed. And I wasn't here. I wasn't up here. Because I've done it before and been successful and made it all the way through. But I wasn't ready here. And like finally I just like put it down for like a month. It was like, okay, like something's fucked up. And I can't keep doing this because it's actually making it worse.
Yes.
So I put it down. I was like, what's going on? Where's
the blockage?
And it was like self-sabotage. You're still telling yourself every day you don't deserve this opportunity.
Yo, self-sabotage is real.
And
It's
then
real. It's real.
and then somebody said to me, literally every mistake, everything you've ever done, every tear, every hard thing, every good thing has led you to this opportunity. Why on fucking earth would you think that you didn't deserve it? And I was like,
Wow.
good point.
That's what I'm talking.
And then I just, I kept with the diet and everything and working out every day. And what's beautiful about that point was I was still forcing myself to go to the gym every day. And at some point, like the end of November, right around Thanksgiving, I realized that I no longer don't like the gym. I like the gym.
I'm glad you said that because you hear so many people say, "Oh, I can't stay in the gym."
Oh.
There's a threshold
There is.
that you have to go through until you feel like it's even decent. I don't even think really people are like, "Yo, I love the gym," because I mean, look what you're doing. You have to be somewhat crazy to go to the gym, put micro tears in your muscles, and go through the soreness and the agony, and it's crazy. But at the same time, there's a threshold to be beat where you can do it.
Yeah, it's
So I
tough.
hate when I hear people say I can't do it or I hate
It's
the
doing
gym.
it when you uncomfortable, like anything else.
Yeah, there's a
It's when you
threshold,
don't
man.
want to do it.
But also, you do have to steer yourself into things that you like to do. Now, there's something to be said for pushing through the threshold of what you're comfortable with.
Sure.
But like, if you're not a yoga and Pilates person, don't go to fucking yoga.
Yeah, no
Like,
doubt.
don't like
Yeah.
if it's not your thing, don't try and like make yourself a yoga person.
Absolutely.
Like, you need to get the movement in. You need to get the resistance in. That's what you need to
There
get
you
in.
go.
And when I was doing my first workout for True Form, I did it with one of their trainers. His name's Don Brown, who's a football guy. And Don said to me, I'm trying to think exactly how he phrased it because it sounded ridiculous in the moment, but then it's like been something I like poked myself. I'm just trying to think of how exactly he phrased it, but it was like the plan is move.
The plane has moved.
No,
Plan
the
is.
plan is move.
Oh, the plane is
Like,
moved.
your plan is move.
Yes.
Like,
Wow.
and he'll text me every once in a while, send me like an Instagram message after that workout. See you moved.
Yeah.
See you moved.
I like that.
Like, so I'll do like the walks. I'll post on Instagram when I'm out with my vested walk, and I'll be like walks for Winnie, because Winnie's gonna be the name of my daughter.
Beautiful.
And he'll see that and he'll go,
Yeah.
It's moved.
Yeah.
You moved.
Yeah. You move
And
forward.
it's literally like, so it was just that I was going to the gym every single day
Sick.
because at the time I didn't want to do the walks like a lazy fuck. So I was going to the gym every day and it just clicked. I was like, but I like went from, I was like, I gotta like get to a place. So like I was on a program within the First Form app and it just wasn't super my jam. I'm not a huge like resistance bands have their use and their particular like methods and exercises that they're great with, but I like it was like very resistance bandy and stuff like that. And I just went to like traditional moves. I switched the program and I was just going in. I was going to the gym and I was working through the whole program. This is the first time in my life that I've ever worked through a whole program without somebody standing next to me. I have a trainer that I work with a couple times a week and he holds me accountable. But I'm like going through the whole program. I'm like, I was sitting at home and I'd already gone to the gym and I'd already walked and I like it was an odd day off and I was like, I think I'm gonna go back to the gym.
Yeah.
I was like,
You start falling in love. You want to go like
It's
2
like-
times a day.
plus we had a really nice gym like moving like right outside my neighborhood.
Okay.
So like all we really had in the area was like some really like pump it up like you're not welcome if you're not a power builder like gyms, the CrossFit in my area, it's a CrossFit cult. It's not that way everywhere, but
I know what you mean. CrossFit.
and Planet Fitness.
Sure.
And like,
Yeah.
that was it.
Sure.
So we got this Edge Fitness right next to my house,
Mm.
and it's fantastic.
Sure.
Yeah, it's convenient too.
Yeah.
And they have the powerlifting room, which I mean, me 6 months ago,
Mm.
I'd have never fucking walked in that room.
Yeah.
Never felt comfortable. Never felt like it was my place. I would have felt like I was taking someone else's spot by being in that room working out.
Mm.
Like
Wow.
I am a fraud being
Wow.
in this room. And they had one of their athletes, Big Ty.
Mhm.
So if you follow, I mean, Ty's, I mean, you got biceps, but Ty's like
Big time.
his biceps are the size of my thighs. And I'm
Gotcha.
like,
You don't
this
pump
guy,
big for nothing.
this guy benches 500, and he comes in, he's super nice or whatever, and we like asked the Edge because we needed to film,
Mhm.
like, could we film? They're like, yeah, you can go in the garage because like there's only serious people that like work out back there. So
Sure.
like, if anybody's in there, they're just gonna stay out of your way, and
Sure.
be cool with it. And I went in there with him, and I hadn't even walked in the room.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't, like I'm like, I'm not going in there.
Yeah.
That's not my spot.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking like this. You get your own little rack, you just like own little section of the world. So now, like when it's super busy out the main gym, I go in there all the time now.
Mhm.
But it's like people think it's not for them.
Mhm.
Maybe that particular thing is not for them, but a form of it is for them. And
Absolutely.
they just have to figure out what that is.
What it
You know?
is.
Yep.
Whether it's martial arts and martial art training is going
Yes.
to give you the physical
Yes.
fitness you want,
Yes.
or traditional weightlifting, or Tabata style, or body weight movements, Pilates. Like there's
Yeah.
tons, like sports. There's tons of things out there that could be your thing. You just have to find out what it is, and
Absolutely.
don't resign yourself to it's not for you because you haven't done the reps.
Thank you.
That's true.
I'm so glad. Thank
That's
you for saying that.
it's absolutely true, man.
Yes.
'Cause if there is a poster child for it not being in you and not being for you, like it's me. Like there was no example of physical fitness in my household,
Mm.
no example of physical fitness or dietary discipline,
Mm.
because my grandparents grew up kind of without resources. So that my dad's generation was the first one with some resources.
Mhm.
And it was like, well, we have money to eat,
Mhm.
so we're gonna eat whatever the hell we want.
Sure.
So if we want to sit down and eat two boxes of root beer float bars
We're gonna do it.
and pound a caffeine-free Pepsi,
Yeah.
like that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
Like so it's
Wow.
because that's I remember particularly like
The can.
the can.
The like brownish looking can. Yeah.
Yeah, growing
I was
up.
like, that was very specific.
And root beer float bars came via the Schwan Man. I
I didn't
remember
know
that.
that. No,
Because when the Schwan Man came around our neighborhood in Maryland, it was like, "Ooh, look at this fancy shit." So like, we had a grocery store in the town that I grew up in, one traffic light, but we didn't have a gas station until I was like 14.
Oh, so you live in a small town in Maryland.
Oh yeah.
Okay. How far are we from Baltimore?
Hour.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hour.
All right, cool.
But so still on the eastern shore, but very like farming town, rural.
Was
very
it
small.
an hour more inland?
Yeah, so like if you come down the coast, like New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, I'm still like basically in that line.
You're just an hour. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Basically like 20 minutes past the Delaware line, but it was all farming country and farm town,
Got you.
farmland and stuff like that, and it was in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, man.
We had to drive
You big time now.
40 minutes to Middletown, Delaware to go to like a legit grocery store. We had like the little grocery store in town, which was wonderful,
Yeah.
but like a Walmart, 45 minutes.
Yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yep. A mall. So at the point, so Christiana Mall, which is like the thing now, but it was like when I was growing up, it was like the trash mall. So you went to Dover Mall, which was an hour.
Wow. Just to get to the mall.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess I'm lucky. I had all the malls around me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, listen, this was great stuff today.
Excellent.
What like closing questions do you have for Robbie?
So I mean, again, if I'm pressing, just let me know. But is there any future upcoming events that you can speak on to like maybe keep people engaged and excited about? Any projects?
Yeah. So we're in season 3 now of Fail Proof Kitchen. We've filmed a 4th.
Okay.
I think that's right. Maybe we're in season 2 when we filmed a 3rd, but there's a whole nother season of Fail Proof Kitchen. So that drops on YouTube on First Form University channel
Listen.
every single week on Mondays. We drop a new episode. It's a great balance of just great cooking technique and tips, but also meal prep tips. Like this week coming out, it's going to be all the different ways to meal prep chicken and not make it suck.
Sure.
There's another video.
I'll watch that.
So there's another video, which is our most watched video, which is ground meats, and
That's all I eat.
so they always so
That's all I eat.
watch the ground meats.
I
episode.
will.
It's the most watched episode.
Okay.
And like these episodes where we go through meal prep, they always show. I like look at the camera and we do heart. I'm like, we gotta have fucking heart to heart. Like, your fucking ground meats and your gray ass bullshit. You assholes dumping that fucking whole thing of ground meat into a pan and turning it on.
Sorry.
Stop that. So
I apologize, Robbie.
so I just did it the first time, like just as like we're just like I'm obviously kind of loopy because we filmed like so many episodes in a row, and like they do this whole like transform me into the devil as I'm talking, and it goes from like we have the Aru like flames on the sides of me and everything. So the chicken episode is the same thing. Like I know your chicken's dry, I see it's dry, you know you're fucking parched eating it. Like
you gotta like drink the water to swing it down.
I've tried a few chickens. I'm like, dang, I got peanut butter and jelly, I guess, for the night.
So that dropping definitely check out they did a nice thing for me, and this is what First Form does, and they didn't tell me about it, but they put me, and I think that's how you saw me. They put me in the highlight reel for the transformation challenge.
I did see that.
So the true form that we've been working on in my transformation will start dropping episodes. I don't know when, but that'll start coming out soon. That'll be on the First Form University channel as well. I did film more TV, competition TV.
Nice.
I can't say for what network.
Sure.
I can't say what show, but that'll be out in like 8 months.
Awesome.
Be on the lookout.
Yeah.
You're a busy man. And we're really grateful that you was able to spend time.
Yeah.
And
I'm grateful to be here.
dedicate this short amount of time to
This place is a legend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. We greatly appreciate it, man.
John, did you have any closing questions?
Basically, what I wanted to ask you is, you know how you say you never stop learning? What, as we close out, what is a dish that was difficult for you to learn and you finally got it? Like you learned it, you did this.
That's a good question.
This was
trying.
this dish. And you finally got it.
You
Like,
tasted that sucker was like,
finally got your grip on it.
Oh, I did that?
who did this, me?
So I would say there's still things that I'm not good at, which are like a lifelong process. So I would say more than just a specific dish, it was, and I think that this is important for a lot of things. That's why I'm gonna like say it this way. So I've never been someone who's been in love with my own food. Like I know technically it's seasoned well, technically it tastes good, technically it looks nice, but I always see the holes in it, right? But I always saw the holes in it because I was never doing it for me, and I was assembling something, not creating something. So since coming home from pressure cooker and watching, you know, even though, you know, he and I didn't necessarily see eye to eye on the show, watching Sergey sit so much in who he is as a chef and what foods and flavors he likes, like I admired that. And there was a whole exchange between he and I that you didn't see on the show that went into that, like, you know, him kind of feeling down on himself and me going like, I don't understand, because you are so much you. Like, you put a plate out, I know it's you. And what I have done since the show is learn to strip away the assembly and cook it and feel it while I'm doing it, and be very intentional about. So the dish that I have struggled and had an epiphany moment about making is dishes that I find exceptionally delicious. Since the show, I have ripped away that I'm building it to build it, or this is the way that we did it in this restaurant, or this guy did it, or whatever, and just fundamentally, how do I make it the best it can be, season it the best it can be, and the result has been, I never, not once, not ever before going on that show, had a moment where I tasted something of mine and went, fuck, that's delicious. I've probably had 15 since. Because I just am not going through the motions anymore. I'm feeling what I'm doing. I'm tasting it. And I've just made so much food since then where I taste it, I go, fuck, that's good.
That's good. So you're almost learning to enjoy the journey. Like you're almost learning to just enjoy what you're making.
But I'm learning to make it mine.
Exactly.
Your touch to it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And no matter what you're doing, no matter who you are, where you come from, what you choose to do for a living. I think there is a certain point where you were doing it someone else's way, the way you were taught, the way that you learned, the way that they said it should be, the way that your customer said it should be, or whatever.
Sure.
And at a certain point, whatever your product is, you need to make it for you in a way that makes sense for you, because only then can you stand behind it with everything you have and say that this is the best. And
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
That's a bar, man. Can we add some cheers to that, man? Yeah, that was a bar, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
That's great, man. My closing question is, what does the book How to Stop Worrying and How to Start Living mean to you? I was saving this for you.
Don't add another 15 minutes to this, man. He got to wrap up.
I know. I just want.
So that's a deep cut. I don't know where the fuck you got that from. I was at a real weird spot, like right out of culinary school, and not really knowing my place, and not really knowing like where I was gonna go. And the chef at the time handed me that book, and I was like, oh, like always in my head about worrying about shit, worrying about like even like worried about my dad. Like I know he's never gonna be able to retire. He hasn't saved any money. Like what's he gonna do? And he was like, you know, I see you're in a weird spot. And just understand, no matter where the weird spot is or how weird it feels, someone else has been there. And he handed me that book, and I read that book, and that book was the moment in my life where I realized that there were other people that go through things, that have been through things, been through worse things, and there's a wisdom and a knowledge there in the universe. If you seek it out and you want to correct it and be better, that you could find it. His name's Chef Rob Parker. I truly do not know where I would be if he never handed me that book.
Wow.
That's powerful, man.
Thank you, Chef Bob Barker. Thank you.
Yep.
That's what's up, man. Because he got you on track to where you're at. That's awesome.
Yeah, Robbie, listen, we appreciate you being on here.
This was awesome.
You enlightened us on a lot of things and informed. I had no idea about a lot of things you were saying. So now we're all really informed. But yeah, man, just thanks for being on, and hopefully we can do this in the future too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd love to come back.
You're a friend now. Yeah. Now
Yeah,
come
man.
get a workout in with us. You're a Brotherhood of Attilas now.
6 a.m.
Maybe I'll get a hotel tonight.
We'll pay for it for you. We got you.
But yeah, if you guys like you listen to this podcast, you have any questions for a future episode, meal prep questions or whatever, like I would love to come back.
He's the man. Absolutely. We'll definitely have you on, boss. All right.
Guys,
Let's
it's been an
respect. And we are
absolute
out,
pleasure.
guys. Take care. Peace.